Good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. It's a beautiful day. I'm excited. Whenever the day is nice out there, it's always good. I appreciate you guys engaging in chat, seeing people already in. It's always fun to see people coming in off different channels like YouTube, Twitter, etc. But remember, LinkedIn's the only place you can actually connect with folks. And so if you haven't connected with me, definitely come over here and follow me on LinkedIn. If you post content, you can do a connection. Otherwise, if you don't post content, it's just as good to do follow. But make sure you give me a little heads up saying, hey, saw you on the training. But love to have you in here. Okay, we're going to get diving into the training. I've got some demos I want to do today, so I want to try to maximize my time. By the way, thanks for those of you showing up early and on time. I appreciate it. My tip for today is let's get started. All right, so we'll get rocking and rolling here. So you'll hear me say this again in a second, but I've been a government contractor before. And so I've been in the shoes of anybody who ever watches my training. I've been in the government, I've been a coach, and I've been a government contractor. So I've been in all these different roles. And one of the things that for me, as I come forward in the trainings, et cetera, I draw a lot of lessons from the experiences I've had. And so if you're looking at my slides, one of the first bullets I have is that Booz Allen killed me. When I was a small business, and I've described this story, I think, a couple of times, especially recently due to what's going on with Doge and the executive orders, et cetera. But I lost 80% of my revenue, millions, in one day. And it was all related to Booz Allen, my dependency on Booz Allen. It wasn't like they came out with an intent to kill me, but their decisions based on what the government was deciding and doing, Booz Allen reacted and it impacted their subcontractors, and we were heavily tied into them. And so they let's say they put me on death's door. They clearly didn't kill me, because if you go back and watch the training, I talk about how I came back out of it. In fact, small businesses are the way I came out of it, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So if Booz Allen killed me, and again, let's be fair and say it's unintentional, SAIC screwed me. And not to be, I tend to be pretty G-rated on my trainings, but they did a number on me and my company, and they did it intentionally. Subbing under a large, it was because they got bought by like somebody else, or they merged with somebody else, and profit margins had to be raised up. And we had subcontracts with a large prime that came in and really just gutted us. They're like, hey, we're going to take away 50%, 60% of whatever we said we were going to give you. And it was pretty significant. And that was an amazing thing for us, because the reason they had even won the contract was us. And this is not an unusual story, right? I know there's many people out there who watch my trainings who've had similar experiences where they do the heavy lift on the technical approach, technical response. They're the reason the team wins. They're just in a subcontracting position. They get pushed aside. And the reason I'm saying these two things, and by the way, I'm not opposed to going with larges, but there's a whole big difference between working with large firms and working with small businesses. And so after, especially that time with Booz Allen, that's when I really began to understand the value of teaming up with other small businesses. No one was really teaching it, right? Even YouTube was just coming along. So it wasn't like there was a lot of stuff out there that you could learn from. But small businesses, when we started teaming up with small businesses, we were able to go after so much more work. My last company, 50% or more of the revenue that we got came from teaming up with small businesses and subcontracting under small businesses. They were appreciative that we could get them into their customers farther, and they could take a piece of the profit off of our efforts, which is totally fine. That's normal work. But we started developing relationships, multiple relationships, and I'll talk about this more, about the importance of this. But the idea that I want to leave you with is that small businesses, in my experience with small businesses, which is has just reinforced over and over again that small business teaming, us going under a prime small business, is massively valuable and very helpful to your success. And this is what I want you to remember coming out of today's training. This is what I want you to get out of today's training, is that you should have strong relationships, not just casual networking relationships. And I'll talk about this more, but what I call strategic relationships. You want to find these teaming partners that are at a level of a strategic partner. And a strategic partner or strategic relationship is somebody who's committed to your growth. It's mutual success, but they're committed to your growth and they're big enough that they can help you grow to wherever you want to be. So keep that in mind. I'm going to break up today's training into 3 sections. Why teaming with a small business is vital to your success. I want to give you some of the reasons. I think I'll give you 10 reasons plus a bonus. And then I want to go in and do 2 different sections of show and tell. One is showing you how to find teaming partners in FPDS, how to search around and go, oh, this looks like a potential good teaming partner. And then the other is how to use GovCon in a box. So this is our tool, and this part I'm going to show you is free out there. But how to use GovCon in a box to find small business teaming partners and to find points of contact, et cetera. So that's what we're going to be diving into today. And I think this is really important, by the way, as we go forward into all the challenges that are happening within the federal government. We reevaluate this, but one of the biggest things is just don't go alone. You don't have to. There's so many people who would love to team up with you. Don't go it alone. So let's talk about that as we go into today's training. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, co-founder of GovCon in a Box, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market after I got out of the Army, running 2 different government contracting businesses. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, you have repeatable, predictable results. And that's what I want for you. That's why I do this training over and over again, is to help you get to that stage where you get systems in place and processes in place. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to the Government Contracting Success newsletter. This is our newsletter out there. It's the largest GovCon newsletter on LinkedIn. And I constantly keep putting information out there that is helpful to you. And tomorrow, our training, so we do these trainings every single day, unless I get sick like I was earlier in January. But we do these trainings, and tomorrow it's basically is Doge killing or is Doge the death of small businesses? And I really want to tackle that issue. It is a hot issue. So I want to look at that. I want to look at what's the impact of their decisions, et cetera. I'm doing that tomorrow. Make sure you sign up for the training. You can find that here on LinkedIn. Maybe somebody's generous enough to put that linked into the chat for me. I want to congratulate the companies that are in the 100 Club. On govconinAbox.com, we created something called the 100 Club. This is your score, 0 to 100, on how visible you are to the federal buyers. We call it your federal visibility score. This is how visible are you to them on their own tools. And so we just go out, grab that data, bring it back, and tell you, look, when a federal buyer is looking for a business like yours, if they can't find you, they're not going to buy from you. They're not even going to reject you, right? They're not going to even know that you exist. And so we really push for you to be visible. I want you to be get rejected or accepted, by the buyer, not ignored or missed by the buyer. So go to govconinabox.com and you will see, I think I got it right here. If you go to govconinabox.com, you'll see right here, it's like get your free visibility score. Just click on that button over there when you get a chance, and I walk you through how to increase your score to 100. I give you text that says do this, this, this for your company. I also sit there and give you a video that walks you through. And good morning to those of you just showing up. Glad to see you here. We're just getting started with why teaming with small businesses is so vital to your success. I think it is very, very important. And I'm going to go through some reasons in here. So reason number 1, it's easier to get into, and these are not in any particular order. These are just in the order that I wrote them down. And so they're not building up on each other. Don't think that there's a rhythm there. So the first one I have here is it's easier to get into agencies. If you try to get into an agency and you're cold calling that agency, that is 10 times or 100 times harder than if you team up with another company who's already in there. And so I'll show you later how you can find companies that are in agencies and you can head on in there. But reason number 1, easier to get into agencies. Reason number 2, you have access to set-aside contract opportunities. So in the federal government, they're still setting things aside to small business, total small business, or SDVO, or woman-owned small business, et cetera. If there's an opportunity that's out that you want to go after and it's set aside, if you've got these relationships with people who have different designations than you do, like HubZone, for example, if you have those relationships, then you'll be able to get access to those opportunities. You'll do it as a sub, and you'll do it for a percentage of the work. But if you didn't have those relationships, you wouldn't have access at all. So number 2, access to set-asides. Number 3, similar, It's access to opportunities that are on contract vehicles. So if you go into SAM, you might see opportunities that are available in there, and they're direct award, not direct award, but basically they're not tied to a contract vehicle. I'm losing my thought for a second. But some of them in SAM, anybody can kind of go after. But most opportunities begin to be tied to a vehicle, GSA Mass or Seaport Next Gen, Oasis, any of these contract vehicles, like a name drop, right? There's thousands of them. And so what you want to do is to find out how your federal buyer is buying, which contract vehicle they're using. And when you team up with somebody who has access to Seaport Next Gen, for example, now you're able to start pursuing opportunities that are on that contract vehicle. And Seaport Next Gen, I just use that one as an example. There's over 1,000 companies on that vehicle. Stars 3, it's an IT contract vehicle for 8A Stars 3. There's over 1,000 companies on that. So guaranteed there's somebody in there who's willing to team with you to let you see and then perhaps pursue with them those opportunities. Number 4, there's less administration. When you team up with a small business prime contractor to go after opportunities, there's less administration for you and less compliance. The prime has the bulk of the compliance. Sure, there's things you have to pay attention to, but you don't have to do all the billing. You don't have to do the interaction with the KO, et cetera. When you're the sub, generally, you're just focused on the work. And so you reduce that administrative overhead for your company. You reduce the compliance headaches in there. One thing I didn't put on here is that if you're going after an opportunity and it's got a secret clearance or top secret clearance and you don't have that facility clearance yet, they have the ability to kind of guide you in there and sponsor you is the term. So number 4, less administration compliance. Number 5, it's leveraging their relationships. And this goes back to, it's easier to get into an agency when you're kind of getting a warm introduction in there, but leveraging the relationships. If a small business prime is in the Army, in a like Dev Command or something, and you're going to try to go in there, well, if you go in with them, you're able to leverage their relationships with that other person. So it's expanding it beyond just getting into an agency. Now you're able to walk in with, if I introduce you to Tim, Tim's going to go, well, if Neil introduced you, then you're at a whole nother level. My guard is down and I'm here to listen to what you say. And any of us who are primes with a federal customer that likes us can give you that same kind of leveraging of my relationships or their relationships. Number 6, you can be mentored. I hear people talk about JVs or mentor protege program. It's like, you don't need to be in a program to be mentored. You can just line up with somebody. Literally, I mentor you at whatever degree I do here on this, but you could team up with a small business prime contractor who's bigger than you, who's in similar space, and you could get mentored in such an effective way by people who are literally doing the work that you want to be doing today, literally working in the agency you want to be working with. And so they can mentor you. Number 7, it's a shortcut to past performance, especially if you're either newer to government contracting or you're newer to an agency. Say you want to get into the Army and they're like, well, we'd like you to have experience within the Army. When you subcontract under a small business prime contractor, you're accelerating that past performance because now you can start building up 3, 4, 5 past performances within that Army customer around what you do. And then maybe you can go after prime contracts with that past performance as a sub. So number 8, one of the big things I think about this one, and by the way, I can't see on my phone my display anymore. So somebody tell me if the AV's working. Audio visual, give me a little 5x5 that it's working. But I'll just keep talking as if it is. Number 8, when you sub with strategic partners, small business primes in particular, you really become part of their team, right? You're a partner with them. A strategic relationship is being developed compared to just a faceless or nameless sub on a large contract. Can you say SAIC, right? They didn't know that who they were. They didn't specifically target us to just treat us bad. They just did that across the board. Still looking here. Okay, fine. Thanks, Rich. Number 9, faster decision-making. So when you work with a large, it takes forever to get things done. When you work with a small, you're almost always getting access to the owner. Frankly, the minute you can't get access to the owner of the company, that company is probably too big that the owner's distant, and I would encourage you to kind of look smaller. Not that you don't work with those people or very large companies. I'm just saying today's training is about small business prime contractors, and let's just say those people are ones that are one of the criteria for who they are is you have access to the owner to touch base, et cetera. So thanks, everybody. Let me know you can see. And number 10, when you team up with a small business prime contractor, especially when you're contributing, you have so much more influence on business development and the direction you're kind of going and the relationships being built with your teaming partner with an agency. When you look at opportunities and you're having a weekly 15-minute meeting about joint pipeline of like 4 or 5 opportunities, you have more say on the capture strategy, how we're going to go after this opportunity, and then similarly, how you're going to respond to it. You can really influence the storyboarding and the direction of a response compared to if you're with a much larger firm. They're just doing it their way. They just have a data call. They just want you to give a page or two. So, so somebody asked a quick question. I'll only answer it briefly. The question was, are set-asides still being used? Yes, they're still being used out there. And so for now, I operate in today's training, I operate based on how they're working. Literally, you can go to SAM right now and look at RFIs. And these are RFIs that have just dropped in the last week or 2 weeks. So in this mess, they're not legacy RFIs from before. They're recent RFIs. So people are still spending. People are still setting things aside. Number 11, I want to give you a bonus really quick, is that every relationship that you build, right? You see that red box? I say that you need to have a goal of 16 strategic partners. These are 16 different companies that are not your size. If you're, let's say you're 5 million and below, what I want you to do is to be aiming for somebody who's in that 10 to 15, $20 million range. Make them bigger than you, right? And that's my goal. If you do that, you've got a company that potentially has room for you on their opportunities as they move forward, and they would welcome your participation. When you connect with companies that are your size or smaller, there's less room for anybody, and there's less chance you might actually be winning things. So it doesn't mean you don't network and are friends with these people and have occasional teaming, but there's 16 strategic companies or partners that I want you to build. And when you build those, the criteria, one of the criteria that says, is that a strategic relationship, is that you meet for 15 minutes once a week to discuss a joint pipeline. You're not there to talk about Doge or any of these other things, right? You're there to talk about these 5 opportunities, 6 opportunities. Don't really have more than that, right? You have your own opportunities. They have their own opportunities. You're just looking for 5 or 6 opportunities that you can be chasing right now. If you have any more, then it needs to be farther out into the year of 2025. But when you get together for 15 minutes and you're talking, imagine if you've got 16 of these relationships. It's like having 16 business developers in your company. So whether you are a business owner and you're doing that, or whether you're a business developer in a particular company, when you're a business developer, you could line up 16 relationships like this. And now you basically got 16 people working for you towards your goals. Now, a good relationship means you're paying attention to what's important to them as well. You want to support them. You want to be one of the business developers that are the eyes and ears for them out there as well. But just think about how that grows. Okay, so that's why, if you understand that, just put relationships rock in the chat. Let me know you understand that small business teaming partners are vital to your success. Put relationships rock in the chat. All right, so we got about 15 minutes, a little less. I go to 12:30 if it's your first time here. I like that, Calvetta. Sweet 16, you almost like start bracketing them down. Okay, let's talk about how to find teaming partners in 2 different ways. One is FPDS, and the other will be GovCon in a box. And I shifted GovCon in the box in case I run out of room. I can put it at the end. You can look at it. But FPDS, I want to go in and show you. The first thing is, I just want to tell you, when you go into FPDS, I'm recommending you look for companies that are doing complementary type services. It's not bad if I'm a SharePoint company to look for a SharePoint company, but really what I'm looking for is companies that aren't doing what I'm doing at the moment. That way, as we go after opportunities, I can get my piece of work and they can get their piece of work. When I go after other SharePoint companies, it might be because I'm going after a big SharePoint project I can't do all by myself. So look for complementary services. I put 2 examples. SharePoint is a Microsoft product, sits on cloud, servers, etc. So I might look for somebody who's doing network engineering because they're in the IT shop. And generally, the buyers of what I'm doing might be in the IT shop as well. It seems like a good fit. It seems like they would hear about SharePoint needs, etc. The second example I have here is Graham does ASL, American Sign Language. And so a complementary service for them might be an EEO investigation. they might go find teammate partners who are in an agency they want to go into that are doing EEO investigations, and be able to say, hey, we can be kind of the ASL arm, or, can we team up and go after some of the relationships you have and talk to them, blah, blah, blah. But those are 2 examples. I put 4 fields here I want you to pay attention to. Estimated completion date. This is when is the overall contract. Let's say it's 5 years. When's that period of performance done? Base plus option years. This total contract value is what I want. So if all of it was spent, it'd be $9 million instead of maybe $500,000, which is today. The third one is socioeconomic. I just want to know, is it small business? And the last one is description. So let me go ahead and show you really quick how I do this. And I'm going to try to manage my time. Oops, I think I'm in the wrong place. Hold on. Here we go. I think I'm sharing that. I'm still having problems with my phone showing me what's being displayed, but hopefully it's good. You should be looking at FPDS, and I'll talk it through. This is the home screen. If you haven't been there before, I just type anything and I move forward. And now I'm going to search for a company, and let me just try with, I'm going to try a new search. So estimated completion date, I'm going to put something like, let's just say, how about September 30th until, let's go one more year. Oh man, it won't let me go farther out, but let me just put 9/30 here. Hold on, 9/30, 2025. And this one here, I'll just put 3 for the moment. So I'm going to filter this down one at a time. So I have 492,000 in there. So now I'm going to add the second field I mentioned. And this one was socioeconomic. So you see that one there. And I'm going to say the socioeconomic is small. And let me search. So I just went from 492,000 down to 125, which actually is really surprising to me. And then let me go back to, I got to find my slides. Hold on, I forgot the next field there. The next one is base plus option. That's the last one. Okay, so come here in advance, and I'm going to add another field, and base and exercise. So base and exercise options value. And I'm going to say I'm looking for somebody doing, let's just say it's a 5 million. I think that's 5 million to 20 million. Hopefully I did this correctly. There you go. So I just took it from 492,000 down to 1,473. Now comes kind of the hard part, right? And this is the part where I love demoing live so you can see what I run into, but I'm not positive if I'll find one related to what I'm looking for. So let's just put EEO and see what happens. Okay, no results. Let me put investigations. Okay, so I'm just going to pause for 1 second and go, okay, there's 2 investigations in here. And I can see there's 7 million, 5 million, and I can see that if I look at the companies that are in here, let me just open these 2 and show you the data really quick. So I'm not positive what the data will be. Okay, these guys are going to load, so let me do the other search for network engineering. Let's see if I can find that one. Network engineering. Typing is scary when it's live. Okay, so I've got my results really, really tight at the moment. Let me try network. Okay, so I did network this time, and I'll see what this looks like, but that's an $8 million one. Oh, well, while this is waiting, I'm going to switch over because FPDS is just having challenges today. Let me switch over and show you how to do it in GovCon in a box, and I'll come back. So over in GovCon in a box, you can come to the homepage. By the way, that's where you get your free visibility score. But right here, we've got search companies. It's a free search tool. I wanted to be able to make it easy for people to find their scores. And then I said, well, why don't we just make it easy for you to find each other? And so if I come in here and just pick a company, and I'm going to pick Graham because they sponsored yesterday and I appreciated it. Yesterday, we did a networking event. And so if I come in here, I don't see them because there's a lot of grams, but I know that they've got a 100 visibility score. And I'm going to search for 1 second. I just want to show you in here what you can see as we show. So there's different points of contact in here. I can see they're an 8A company. I can go look at their capability statement. And right away, I can get a point of contact. So if I find a company I like and say I'm looking for somebody who's doing GSA contract vehicle for translation, I can see them. And then I can see down here that they've been winning contracts in DSBS. I can see it in USA Spending. As a quick aside, I will tell you, this is why I want you to get in and be visible. The market research happens in DSBS. Your past performance, if you have a prime contract, is put into FPDS, which then goes into USA Spending. But contracting officers tend not to look at that when they're doing market research. They go to find a small business in DSBS. And so you want to make sure your experience is in there. But you can see in here the stuff that's available. So if I was looking for, and let me reset. If I was looking for a company that has, remember I said network engineering. Let's try that. So network engineering. So I searched for network engineering. There was 370,000 companies. Now there's 2,000. Let's say I'm looking for a network engineering company that's an SDVO, SB. I love doing these searches live because I never know if I'm going to get the results I want. Okay, so now there's 371 companies. I'm going to say I want them to have experience. And you remember I showed you how it was in DSBS and USA Spending. That field there, I think it should tell you, basically it says, do they have experience in DSBS, USA Spending, et cetera. So I'm going to hit search and went down to 254. So a lot of them have that. And let's say the last one I'm looking for is somebody who's on, I don't know which GSA. How about Vets 2? If I hit, well, that one's kind of too loaded, actually. Let me do STARS 3 Emerging Technologies. Okay, STARS 3 Emerging Technologies is AI and things like that. It's really limited. There you go. I went down to 16 companies. And so using GovCon in a box, I can do that. Now I can start going in and looking like here. It's a small business leader in professional services. They do IT services, solutions, hardware, software. So they're definitely IT, but I'm not quite seeing maybe what I might look for. I might look for AI. Anyways, so you can use GovCon in a box. Go explore it. Come into GovCon in a box and just go search company. It's free. And when you find companies that you like, actually, let me do that really quick again. If I do this, I got these companies that are, these are the 100 companies. But if I go in here and I like this company, I can just click on this favorite. And now I'm adding the company to my favorite bar. And so right here, I can always come back and check out who they are. All right, let's go back here really quick. Here, if I just zoom in, I don't have a lot of time on this left for the training. But if I come in here, you can see this contract's big enough. If I come down to see when its ultimate end date is the 2025, so that's this year. And I'm looking here and I can see that this is an 8A company. So they're a small business. That's why I did that socio status small. If I wanted to search 8A or SDVO, I could have searched that. And then the last one down here is I'm just coming down to say, so here, ICE requires information technology program management support services. This is exactly who I would want to talk to as a SharePoint company or really any other IT, right? If I'm trying to build it. Now I have to go to the next step and have a meeting and see if there truly is synergy. But if I find 100 companies like this, I will get to the 16 that I mentioned. Okay, let me have you remember these couple of things from, let me get rid of that guy since we already did that. Here's what I want you to remember from today's training, because I know it's a whirlwind. I know we go pretty fast, but the one thing I definitely want you to just remember as we're dealing with DOGE and all these things, that success in the federal space, in particular for government contractors, it's fastest and really most secure when you team with other people. Sometimes you can team where they're the sub and other times you're the sub, but team with people. Do what I just did. Know your complementary services to SharePoint or ASL, for example. Know your complementary services before you go out, and then reach out to a significant amount of people to develop those 16 relationships. When you develop those, you're going to have the success that you want. Remember, go to GovCon in a box, check it out. Go check out your score for sure. I want you in the 100 club. On the bottom right-hand corner, I've got a ask for help question. So if you're wondering if you're hitting a roadblock or something, just ask us a question. It'll come to the team and we'll get back to you right away. And for all of us, as we head into the rest of the week and from this training, Just remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is ending on time. I'm out of time. I will see you in the next training.